Darren Jones, Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, is with me this morning. You can put your cup there. That's
sorry.
fine. No problem. Don't be sorry.
It's my first coffee of the day.
Very good. I hope it goes down well. I was expecting the Shadow Home Secretary this morning. She is not here. You are here instead, last minute. Let me put this to you, should I? Straight off the bat. Yeah. Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves and Darren Jones have repeatedly refused to rule out raising VAT throughout this campaign and have now only caved in due to a CCHQ press relief. They have pulled their Shadow Home Secretary off the morning media round and deployed Darren Jones to tell everything that nothing has changed.
Deployed.
Don't start with that line.
Deployed. Was that from CCHQ or Sam Coates?
No, it was from CCHQ.
I mean, come on. Okay. Look, the Conservative Party are desperate to try to say that they've, scored a point in this election campaign. But Rachel Reeves has been consistently clear that we have no plans to raise taxes on working people. We've said it a million times. I said it yesterday in my press conference. Rachel said it the day before in her speech. I'm not sure what the Conservatives are trying to get at here. We have no plans to raise taxes on working people. Do you know why? Because the burden of tax on working people is the highest it has been in the last 70 years because of the Conservative Party.
I note that you always say, whoever I'm talking to from your party, always say working people. So does that mean that you are planning to raise taxes on some people?
No, I mean, we use the language because they're the kind of big taxes, right? So people that go to work will see their income tax, their national insurance, they pay a lot of VAT on their shopping. So we just use it as kind of shorthand for the main taxes that working people...
OK, so it doesn't matter how much you earn?
No.
OK, and what about if you're a pensioner?
Well, the pensioners are in a bit of a tricky spot because the Tories have been playing around with the... No, I'm saying, but that's the situation we will inherit if we win the election. Now, the Conservatives have said that they're going to make certain changes to their own policy on taxation that might affect pensioners with higher levels of income, but it's entirely unfunded. And Rachel Reeves has been very clear that we're not just going to kind of keep matching their unfunded, unsustainable policy offers in this election. As I said out yesterday, they've announced over £70 billion of unfunded spending commitments in the first week of the general election.
You guys quote all these billions of figures, and it doesn't actually...
Well, I think a number that will matter to people is that using the Treasury's own analysis, if the Conservatives are re-elected, they have to borrow £70 billion a year to pay for all these unfunded spending commitments. They estimate that there could be an up to 2.5 percentage point increase in the interest rates. And people, but people know what that means for their mortgages and their rent because they had to do it because of Liz Truss not long ago. That's been a painful experience for people.
Conservatives say that Labour intends to spend, I'm going to give you a figure, £38.5 billion more than you publicly disclosed tax increases will have to rise as a result.
Do you know, I would love to come on the show with Jeremy or Laura Trott or someone from the Conservative Party, and we can go, it might be a bit boring for TV, but we can go through it line by line. The Conservative... I don't think that's going to be, I don't think that's going to be a viewer winner, I'm just saying. That's why I'm not in TV. But look, the Conservative assumptions about what Labour Party policy is just wrong. I could point you to bullet point after bullet point after bullet point in the Tory attack document, which are just inaccurate, whereas our document that we published yesterday is based entirely on what the Conservative Party has said, which is a whole host of funding policies with no funding or financing behind them at all. And the point reason that's important is not just poor politics. There is a direct connection between unfunded Conservative policies and family finances. We went through this whole process with Liz Truss, and we're doing it all again with Rishi Sunak. It's unacceptable.
You've said that you're not going to cut public services. Is that all public services, or are you going to ring-fence some that you're not going to cut?
Well, some public services have a kind of protected status. Yes. So take defence, it's always analysed as a percentage of GDP. So depending on the size of the economy, it kind of moves around. With the economy in the health system, for example, there's a commitment to the long-term workforce plan, which means that it gets certain kind of protections. But look, we're going to have to do a spending review if we win the election on July the 4th, and it's going to be really hard because of the state of the economy and what we would inherit from the Conservatives, the worst fiscal inheritance since the Second World War.
You will potentially cut some public services?
We're not planning to cut public services.
I'm sure you're not, but you may.
Well, we'll have to do the spending review, but what we have set out in our first 6 steps for the Labour Party manifesto is fully funded, fully costed policies. Those first steps, 6,500 extra teachers in schools, 40,000 extra appointments in the NHS each week, funded by closing tax loopholes, which we'll be able to get on with immediately, an initial injection of billions of pounds into public services.
OK, so you might cut some services, is what you're saying?
That's not what I said, but repeat the answer if you like. I mean, all of our fully funded first steps.
OK, let me put it another way. You're not guaranteeing that all public services will be protected.
Well, I'm going to have to do a spending review if you win the election.
So, yes, you can't guarantee it.
And if the Conservatives want to publish the book so the voters can see them and I can see them at this stage of the election, I would be very happy for them to do so.
OK. I want to talk about Diane Abbott. Where are we with that?
Well, I don't think a decision's been made. Diane had the whip restored yesterday or the day before. She's a member of the Parliamentary Labour Party again. And at this period of time, because the election's been called, any candidate that's not currently endorsed needs to have a conversation with the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party if they wish to be endorsed and stand as a Labour candidate. I've seen Diane's been on the news, but I hope a conversation would happen if she wants it to happen.
Yeah, I'm just a bit confused because it depends where we were, at which point of the day we were at yesterday as to whether or not she had been barred. What's your understanding from standing in Hackney?
As far as I'm aware, she's not been barred from standing. I mean, she had the whip given back to her. She's back in the Labour Party as a Labour MP. And as far as I'm aware, no decision's been taken about whether she's going to be the candidate or not, and presumably a conversation will therefore take place between Diane and the Labour Party. OK, would you like to see her stand? It's not for me to have a personal view on any candidate. Well, look, I'm fond of lots of my colleagues, but it's not for me to speak. Well, it's not for me to speak to Diane or
would you like to see her stand?
Or for the. It's a question for Diane if she wants to stand as a Labour candidate.
If she wants to stand, would you like to see her stand?
If that's her decision, then I respect her decision, and it's for the Labour Party and Diane to conclude whether that's what's going to happen at this election. OK, I've got a list of another couple of names that you may be. I mean, it's turning into a farce as far as Diane Abbott is concerned. You have to admit that. I mean, it's been on the front pages of a couple of papers, a lead in a couple of the papers this morning. That's not really what you want people to be talking about. It'd be very easy for you to just clarify it, wouldn't it, really, as a party? And it will get clarified pretty quickly because we've got election addresses to print and candidate papers to submit. Well, there was an independent process, as you know, because of an issue. I don't know when it ended, but I'll take your...
I'm sure you do.
No, I don't, because it's... Well, maybe, but it's independent of politicians, so I don't get told anything about the independent...
I'm not a politician and I know. ...processes.
Well, if you know, I'll take your word for it. But look, the independent process happens kind of without politicians' involvement. That's the right thing to do. What about Faiza Shaheen? Does that name ring a bell to you? She was our Labour parliamentary candidate in Ian Duncan Smith's constituency of Chingford. So you do know these facts? Well, I've seen it suits you. I've seen I know who she is and I know she's a candidate. I've seen it reported overnight that there's been an issue of some kind and that's now being considered. But that's, I'm afraid, all I know about that particular case. She's not been endorsed by the party in the seat. That, according to the PA news agency, suspended by Labour after she allegedly liked a series of posts on Twitter that downplayed anti-Semitism accusations. Are you clearing house ahead of the election? Well, look, there's always an accelerated process when a snap election is called because you've got to make sure all of the candidates are sorted, all of these processes are concluded, and that's why there's a lot of news about particular candidates right now because we've got to get everyone sorted and concluded, I think, by the end of the week so that we can have candidates on ballot papers and leaflets printed. Yes, we're processing all of those outstanding issues. Not too long ago, we were chatting about when the election might be. Did I bet on July the 4th? I can't remember that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You didn't. It came as a shock to many. How much of a shock was it to you and your colleagues? Well, look, the Labour Party was prepared for an election at any point. So we thought there might be one in May, which is why I lost that 10 quid bet, and I made the donation to charity as instructed. And then the party in head office was preparing constantly for, it could be next week, it could be the week after. So we constantly had our plans ready to go, as I think you saw by the professionalism and quality of our launch as soon as it was announced. Would I have bet on July the 4th before the Prime Minister said so? No, I kind of thought it was probably going to be the autumn at that stage, but Rishi Sunak took everybody a little bit by surprise. But I was very pleased that my colleagues in head office were ready and raring to go as soon as it was called. Our poll of polls suggesting that you guys are 27 points ahead. How do you guard against complacency? Well, because polls are just a snapshot of today, they're not a prediction of the future. And the thing that Rishi Sunak and I agree on is that the only poll that matters is polling day, when people get to go and vote. This is not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. We need as many Labour MPs in as many seats as possible to form a working majority in the House of Commons. So if people want an end of 14 years of the Conservatives and change with Labour, they're going to have to vote for it on July the 4th, and I hope they do.
That answer gave me 4 on my bingo card.
Did it?
Yes.
Maybe make it a drinking, later in the day. Drinking game,
It's good to see you as always. Thanks so much indeed. Thank you.